I was live already. What's my damn intro?
Keep
Um,
it raw
I
and
was going to
authentic,
do
man.
that. Say again.
I said keep it raw and authentic, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's because obviously I tried to remember we were doing the whole the zone stuff.
You have the
I
little
tried
countdown.
to, yeah, but that didn't happen. Wait, hold on, just 2 seconds. Oh well, it's live on YouTube, so I mean, I guess that counts for something. So, anyways, going off that.
We digress. We digress.
No
Technical
intro,
issue.
no music, no
2023.
countdown. It just caught me off guard. But yeah. Welcome to the Arbaz YouTube channel. I am here with Sam Undiluted Media. How you doing?
I'm good, bro, man. I'm good, man. A nice little Sunday. Not gonna lie, that 1 hour that they move forward kind of turned me off. Just took me off
Yeah.
guard, bro. Like 12:59 straight away. It's 2 o'clock. You think where's the time gone in it? But we're here, man. We move, man. We move. How are you, bro?
Now come. I wasn't even awake to see the hour shift, so I don't really think I recognized it too much. I even forgot about it to be honest, but it is what it is. Obviously we are kind of serious. I am a week late. With this, we are doing the Saudi. Is it Saudi? Yeah, the Saudi
Yeah.
Grand Prix review. Which it wasn't the most eventful race ever, but I mean there was some entertaining, or not entertaining, but there was some factors to discuss with everything that happened during the race. So where I would start is with Mercedes. Obviously they had another, by their standards, eight world championship or eight construction championship standards. They finished fourth and five. Russell fourth, Hamilton fifth. Um,
Mm.
as I said, as I mentioned in the previous video, you are the Formula One expert here. Do you reckon there's starting to be a bit of friction between Hamilton and Mercedes? Because he's come out doing interviews talking about how he knows what a car needs and what a car doesn't. The engineers didn't listen to him, and when it seemed, we'll get to this a bit later. When it seemed that Russell did get the podium, and they asked him, "Oh, are you happy for Russell?" or something like that, he said, "Nothing to do with me, but that's good for the team and stuff like that." And he
Mm.
seems to have this kind of like, I don't know what to call it, entitled but arrogant thing about him. Like he's just so frustrated that he doesn't even want to bring out the best in the car. He talks about how if he had Russell set up, he would have done better, or he doesn't know why we started on the hards. And I remember there was something you were telling me last season when we were talking about the end of season review, and you were talking about how Hamilton was the one that they were doing all the trials and errors with, while Russell was given the best setup to continue. And I think he's got to a point where he's a bit fed up with that as well. Are you sensing some friction between Hamilton and Mercedes?
I think there is some friction, but it's also mind games from Lewis because Lewis is out of contract this year. So
Yeah,
it's for him to say, look, I'm putting pressure on you guys because you're the works team and we've got the engine, we've built the engine, and we can see how the engine can perform with Aston Martin. But with Mercedes, it's more so the chassis, which obviously which is the materials that's built around the engine, which isn't, performing well. The whole whatever their wings, the side pods, and so forth. So I think it's a bit of gamesmanship from Lewis, but he is very disappointed because his
yeah,
tenure or majority of his tenure at Mercedes has been okay, cool. It's championship or bust. We're fighting for the championship, and
yeah,
most of the time he's favorite to win the race. And right about now, he just subpar, or not even just him. The team is subpar, and they're fighting for podiums, and they're fighting to finish fourth and fifth. So I think he's putting pressure on them. Mercedes have basically said, look, the car that you're gonna see, in the next, within 10 races is gonna be a different car. But if you wait 10 races in, it's too late. You've given Red Bull, Aston Martin a head start in it. So I
yeah.
think Lewis is playing this game to put pressure on them and then weigh up his options. I don't think if he was to leave, I think he'll probably just go to Ferrari and try and bring a championship there. But
Hmm.
there is some friction, but I wouldn't say, if I was to do a scale out of 0 to 10, I probably would
Yeah,
say it's 5. It's halfway.
fair enough. And so, do you think he's actually getting the best out of the Mercedes car? Because there's always a thing with Formula One where they always say a driver can't do this or that unless he has a fast car. Like you see,
Mm,
Alonso, he's a two-time world champion, but he hasn't won a championship for God knows how long. And
yeah.
it's very, and Formula One is very hard in terms of like, if you talk about other sports as in basketball, football. I think there's just only so far that you can like. Lewis Hamilton is a championship driver by his
Mm,
standards, but there's no way he's ever going to take this Mercedes to a championship or whatever.
of
But
course.
do you still think that he's still leaving like quote unquote speed or time on the table and he's not getting the best out of it because he's not competing for a championship?
No, I don't think that's Lewis, because with Lewis, last season was the first time in years that he went without winning a race, and I don't think he wants that to continue this year. So I think he is doing his best that he can, but the car
Yeah,
is just not good enough. And we saw it with at the Saudi Grand Prix when the safety car came and it bunched everyone up, and Lewis was able to go on to, I believe it was a softer tires, which would have allowed him to go for a longer
medium.
stint.
Yeah,
And he was at that particular time he was faster than George, and then George was a bit disappointed, thinking that Alonso's still gonna have his 5 second penalty point time
yeah,
deduction, and then George was like, "No, I'm not gonna let Lewis go." And then it became an internal race, and then Lewis was like, "Okay, cool. This guy doesn't want me to get past him, or he's not gonna allow me to get past him." And he just
yeah.
kind of said, "Like, let me just save my tires and just wait for another race, another day." But I just think he's trying his best, but the car's just not good enough. The setup of the car and everything is not conducive to in terms of how Hamilton races. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's funny you said that because I was watching funny enough, even just yesterday, I was watching the
Yeah,
Mercedes debrief where they will ask them questions and they will just go through why they made certain decisions throughout the races and
yeah,
why so they must have asked I can't remember who was the one that was talking, but first of all, why did Hamilton start on the hards while most people went on the mediums? And I
yeah.
think they was talking about how is a one-stop race is going to be medium to hards or hards to medium. So they said it doesn't make that much of a difference, and
Mm,
they wanted it to be a situation whereas in the safety car comes out, he can pit onto the mediums or whatever. And then I think they also asked why they never let him go past Russell because he had the faster tires while Russell was on the hard and he was in the medium.
yeah,
And they said something about although Lewis would have been faster at the time, mediums had longer to go. So towards the end of the race, the hards would have had better pace on the mediums. And when we're just going back to the point about how Hamilton's the one doing all the trials and errors for the car while Russell's giving the best setup to go on for the race. Do you think there's a crossover period whereas in Mercedes are starting to favor another driver, which is Russell over Hamilton?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. You could say that for in regards to a 7-time world champion in it, and Russell's
Yeah,
good at what he is, but we haven't seen him in terms of that upper echelons with the young guns that are coming. For example, for Verstappen and Leclerc. Yes, he's good, but we haven't seen him really do much in the Mercedes. He's been Mister Consistent, but we've never seen a race where he's overtaken a certain amount of guys, started maybe like 15th and finished third or second to show everyone that moving forward, Russell's that guy.
yeah.
I just think at the moment Lewis is probably just trying to figure out and get any advantage that he can by let me test this out. Let me test that out and see if it benefits me first. Because I guess if Lewis does it first, he's gonna have access to adding that onto his car before George. So he's probably saying, let me take that risk. Let me trial these tweaks that they're doing. So if it does work, I'm gonna be better suited in race situations.
Okay, that's so fair enough. So just moving on to the next topic because um since obviously I've not been watching it very long anyways, but
Yeah.
it always seems like the rules and regulations in Formula One aren't always as clear. Like you hear one time they do something. I remember there was a race I was watching. I think I was watching the highlight. I think it must have been
Mm.
Saudi in 2021 when Verstappen and Hamilton had that race, and I think Verstappen had made like a dangerous move, and
Yeah.
on the red flag. I think normally you're meant to give them a time penalty for dangerous move, and they started speaking, doing some cooperation to about, oh, you know what, we'll let you start further on the grid instead of giving you a time penalty. Are you okay
Yeah.
with that? And there's just like many other instances, whereas so we had the same situation with Alonso with Ocon last year, whereas he started out of his grid box and
Mm.
you're given a 5 second time penalty. And I think so that's they called a red jack if I'm correct, whereas in he was meant nothing's allowed to touch the car before
Yeah. Yeah.
before the 5 seconds are up, and obviously the red jack was touching, and Alonso Ocon had that same situation in Bahrain, and he was given a 10 second time penalty, which Alonso should have been given another 10 second time penalty, but
Mm.
for some reason, FIA decided to wait till after the race and after the champagne has been sprayed and whatever. So it was like Alonso went from 3 to 4 back to
To
3, and then
third.
obviously Aston Martin have now gone to the FIA talking about in the rulebook it says you must make a decision within 25 minutes or 25 laps or something like that, which was then why the original 10 seconds penalty was then taken back away. Do you think there's a issue with the way Formula One is being run right now with the rules and regulations?
Bro, every time we have discussions in our group chat and we just talk, I always say that the regulations and rules, like you can't have a sport, where it becomes a farce where you don't believe what's going on. Like rules change on a day-to-day basis. And
Yeah,
sorry to harp on about it, but we saw it when Lewis Hamilton lost the championship. That rule was never in place. It was made there and then. Like they
yeah.
normally everyone would have to unlap themselves, but all they did is just the cars that are in front of Verstappen unlap themselves,
Yeah.
and then you
It's
know
just lastly, wasn't that race in normal rules and regulations? Shouldn't that race finish under the safety car?
basically would have
Because they
finished.
added one lap left and said racing lap.
Exactly. So basically, it would have finished under safety car and Hamilton would have won because everyone would have to unlap themselves. And by the time they did that, it probably would have been on the last lap and Hamilton would have won. And they made that situation there like it was manufactured for Verstappen to win. Look, that's neither here nor there. But this is an issue that we have with the FIA, and a lot of people can't take the F1 as a sport serious because there's too much, wishy-washy stuff where there's nothing, that is obvious and states X, Y, Z. And teams can come up with their own termination of what this rule says and what that rule says. And the governing body is just at the limbs of whoever, whenever they feel like it. Do you know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
something that F1 and the FIA need to change, because if that continues to happen, the game's going to be in the Formula One's going to be in disrepute, because people are going to look at it like it's not a serious sport. If 1 week this happens and we'll see the same situation next week, and then that person will
yeah.
get 10-second penalty within 25 minutes. But then moving on, it's not going to be consistent. So that's something they need to kind of definitely sort out, because for me as a fan watching it, it's just that how can I watch a race? Like you said, the champagne spraying, you see Alonso on the podium, next minute, oh no, he's not on the podium. Then you see George Russell P3, and then an hour later back to Alonso. Like, come on,
Yeah.
that's not a serious sport, man.
Do you think after, because I think what a lot of people are saying that it, obviously a 10-second penalty should have been given for the red jack because it happened to Ocon and you want that consistency or whatever. And I think people are saying the reason you can't give it out to the race because it gives Alonso no time, or gives Aston Martin no time to prepare, whether Alonso can try and push for a 10-second gap, or if they want to pit him for 10 seconds or whatever. But after the race, when they did give him this 10-second penalty, did you think they made the right decision taking it back and say, you know what, we'll let Alonso have his podium? And do you think they also took away because it was his 100th podium as well?
Do you know what? With me, the way I see a sport, once the result's in, don't change it. Like, it's like football. It's like you're playing a game, it ends 1-1, and then later they say, actually, no. The goal that Richard scored that we threw offside the goal. Now Chelsea win 2-1. Like, you can't do that. Or, oh, this person should have been sent off. So because he should have been sent off, we're gonna give Chelsea the goal or an opportunity they had that they missed. Like, you can't do that. I
Yeah.
think you have to make the decision there and then, and whatever you go with, you stick by it. Whether it's right or wrong, you just got to stick with it, because then it'll give the sport some credibility instead of always chopping and changing. Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%. I was about to talk on Aston Martin quickly, but scrap that. I just want to ask another question regarding Red Bull,
Yeah.
because obviously they finished 1-2, and
Mhm.
so Verstappen obviously had a qualifying mistake, or not even
Yeah.
mistake, where they had a problem with the engine, so he started 15th, and
Mhm.
me, I stupidly predicted he was going to finish like fourth, but the
Yeah.
pace of the Red Bull is like it makes like the race non-contest like after like a
Yeah.
few laps or whatever. And especially when the safety car came out, I was like, minimum Verstappen has finished in second. And I think there's been now a lot of complaints within Formula One fans saying that there needs to be another regulation change because they are saying this dominance is even more dominant than what Mercedes had. Do you agree that this Red Bull dominance is looking more dominant than what Mercedes had? And do you think another regulation change is needed?
But bro, in the group chat, what have I been saying? I said the regulations, the way they do it is so stupid. Is because what these teams do, they have FIA at the neck, because basically they say if you don't change the regulations to suit me, I'm leaving the sport. And you don't want Mercedes to leave, you don't want Red Bull to leave. Ferrari's always going to stay in F1 because F1 is their marketing ploy. But they're going to have to do something where when they do these regulations, a certain team doesn't have an advantage. Because when, Mercedes was winning that streak, I'm a big Mercedes fan. I'm going to admit it. When Mercedes was having that streak, they was able to not manipulate the regulations, but they was able to say, these are regulations that we want. And they've been building a car for that because they threaten the FIA, like, if we don't change it, we're going to leave. And you don't want Mercedes, a big manufacturer, a big brand, to leave F1. So you kind of steer it towards, Mercedes to have some dominance. And then now Red Bull are saying, oh, we haven't won for 8 years. What are we going to do? We're going to leave F1. You don't want them to leave. So you go with what Red Bull are kind of stating. And I think what they should do to make it fair is basically meet in the middle. What Mercedes want, what Ferrari want, what Red Bull want, and then meet in the middle, and there's no competitive advantage for anyone. They're all working from the same hymn book and start at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So then they're not going to change the regulations after what? This is the first year with the regulation. We're going to have to probably see another 3 to 4 years of dominance from Red Bull if Mercedes don't catch up before the regulations change. So it would be great if they could, but I don't see it happening in the near future.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a bit of a naive question to ask as a new Formula One fan, a bit crazy. But I remember, like, so when I watch all of like olden days Formula One, I'm talking about olden, like black and white before Michael Schumacher's time, blah blah. And you see the way like everyone used to have different designs on cars. Like it was like whoever can build the fastest car ever. Do you think there should be more flexibility in the type of cars teams can build, or do you think that would make the sport a bit worse? Or
but basically, this is how the sport was before because there was no salary cap. So Mercedes could spend what they want and do what they wanted with their car. So that's why they've put the salary cap to make it more competitive. Whereas before, like you said, you would see cars look very different from each other. That's because you might see McLaren able to spend extra on a rear ring or side pod or try out different things in it. So I think for them to make it more competitive, they've tried to do this stuff, and you can see Aston Martin are they're showing it because they've got the Mercedes engine, but they've built a great car around the engine to compete. Yes, the engine currently at the moment is still not fast as the Red Bull on a straight line, and it's so surprising to see the Red Bull so fast because, like, we've known in the past, Red Bull always had issues with their engine because they use Honda's engine. Now they're trying to build their own engine moving forward, and when they had the Honda engine before, they were struggling. So just to see that rise from struggling to having an engine that is super fast, like Hamilton said, he said, like, I've seen this car, and for me, it's probably the fastest car I've ever seen in F1. That tells you something. Do you know what I mean? And we've seen Mercedes dominant. So, it's a bit of a sticky one. If they could, that would be good, but I doubt we'll see that anytime soon as well.
No, fair enough. And just lastly, we'll just come back to Aston Martin because they just brought up. Do you think they are now clearly the second best team on the grid, or do you think Ferrari and Mercedes have something else to offer that could still fight back?
I would say, based on how Aston Martin are performing with the engine, I would say that it's smoke and mirrors currently. At the moment, you would say that, but ideally and realistically, it's Mercedes and Ferrari because, like I said, Mercedes is the works team. So any improvements they want to do on the engine, they're going to do it on their cars first before they give to their the supplier team. Yeah. So I do think that at some point Mercedes are going to make some upgrades to the engine, make some upgrades to the car, and they should be more competitive. I don't know what they're going to do to it. Hopefully they listen to Hamilton and move forward with what suggestions he makes. But I would say for now, as an asterisk, you would say, they're the second best, but they're not really. I would say it's still Ferrari and Mercedes because there's still time to improve. Look, we've had 2 races down. There's 19 races left. So that's a long season to go and make improvements on your car.
No, 100%. No, fair enough. As I said, I will try and get out them Formula One because it is very insightful listening to you because you know a lot about the history of Formula One, the direction that you can predict more. So I said I do really appreciate you jumping on. Just for any, you want to shout out the regular stuff?
Yeah, man. As usual, as you can see there, just follow us on Instagram, undiluted media _. Follow us on Twitter, Undiluted Media. One, follow us on YouTube. Should have some new original content coming out real soon that I think everyone's
sir.
gonna like. So yeah, just like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, man. And
Yeah,
follow
and
Out of Bounds UK, man. On all
underscore
social.
UK at
Out of
all.
Bounds underscore UK on all
Yeah, yeah,
social. You get me?
yeah, on all social, TikTok, and obviously you can use the link to check out my personal stuff as well. I got a picture of your Tory, so I'm not washing the shirt anymore
You got a
because
picture of who?
yeah, your Tory.
Yeah, sorry,
So
why? For?
yeah, what's it called? The Beacon thing, Black
Oh,
Footballers
on
event.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
Blacklist. I wasn't able
yeah.
to go this year actually.
Oh, you
But I
get an
saw it.
invite? You should have
Pardon?
come. Did you get the invite? You should have come.
No, because normally they will send it, but I don't think I got one. I could easily just reach out to Leon or Ashanti, but I didn't even know it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
happening. I saw it late, in it. Then I was like, oh, I'll miss out because it was locals in Battersea, right? Battersea
yeah,
Art Centre.
yeah.
Oh, that's just down the road for me as well, man. But yeah, I saw everyone had a good time, and it
Mm.
was great celebrating Black excellence. Everyone winning, so that's good, man.
Yeah, yeah. There's always next year, anyways, and there's many more events and
Of course, of
whatever.
course.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in to the whoever tuning through the live stream, whoever's watching it on. I was about to say on demand, but it's on TV.
We'll be
Yeah.
come on soon. We'll be on Netflix soon. Don't worry. We'll be part of the Drive to Survive.
Vio.
You know what I'm saying? Have you? We'll be
Yeah,
part of the Drive
but
to
yeah,
Survive rollout.
there's no intro for this because it looks like StreamYard didn't want to put it in for me, so yeah, it's just gonna be an abrupt ending. And until next time.
Easy people.
So-
Please have a good Sunday.